Spencer Church.
Yes, huh? What, where?
You went to Ann Arbor for Astronomicon this past weekend.
Yes, we did.
You did.
Oh, you
I
didn't?
was there.
Oh, no?
But I was riding on the wild side. I don't know. It was all right time. I like Ann Arbor a lot.
Yeah.
I went to a cool bookstore and I spent $70 in books.
Yeah.
That I didn't need. But the convention didn't have much. I bought a couple horror things and there was like nothing really to... I bought 4 amazing comics.
You loved them all so dearly.
I literally read 3 of them in, 5 minutes? Because that's all the content was in them. I'm not going to say who the comics were made by because I don't want to ruin somebody's career. I'll let their work do that for them. But they were not good. And that was like the only real comics I saw was... that guy and the Source Point Press guys, which we read a lot of their stuff already.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like 1 or 2 people that had like some issues, but like it wasn't like a whole bunch, and like what they had was maybe like issue 1 and maybe issue 2, like, you know.
Yeah.
So.
But as with Astronomicon, like the last one, we didn't wreck this time, which was good because it was in summertime. But a lot of odors, and it was like 90 degrees every day, so the odors were permeating quite strong. The venue was small, and it was packed in there, which is not good with the whole COVID thing. Me and you were both vaccinated, so and we wore our mask.
Yeah.
A lot of people were not wearing masks. But,
some people were, but the majority were not.
Yeah, I don't know. We walked through the whole convention in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you talked to Dirtman. I couldn't even get over to him because it was so crowded in his corner. So
and that's what sucked because like that line that we thought was for him wasn't for him. Those were wrestler lines.
Well, the way they had it set up, all the guests wrapped around the whole convention and surrounded all the stuff like
in the middle.
The vendors.
The people trying to sell things.
So it just was in the way. I don't know why they had it set up like that, but it was it wasn't the best con, but I mean, going back to something and give us an excuse to go to Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
We got Spencer was very excited to sit outside in the 90-degree weather while we ate our delicious lunch at some something or other's pub.
Yeah, great times. We were complaining about how hot we were and how, terrible it was. Well, we maybe have walked like a mile, 2 miles at most outside the whole weekend, and we just were dead. That's how hot it was.
It was bad. And then we come back to Pennsylvania, and it's worse.
Yeah, it just followed us.
Yeah, that sucks. If you folks in the future think about going to Astronomicon, do some research, because like this one, like some of the main guests just canceled. And
well, so it's we talked about this on the way back, or at least these first 4 have been set inside of a hotel.
We need a bigger venue.
Yes, and I think that's what the issue is.
They look like they have enough people showing up.
Yeah.
That they would need a bigger venue. I mean, they had the panels outside, and then they had, I don't know if they did, I'm assuming they did like music stuff again, probably also outside. Yeah. When it's summertime, 90 degrees, maybe not the best move.
Well, like I said, I think this is still just,
post-COVID, during COVID.
Yeah, and so you're just trying to figure that out, and again, just having some of the major guests cancel last minute, and so I would like to see what one with a full year, because I think this was kind of put together kind of quickly. Yeah. I think I would have to say.
I think they had to wait on a lot of vendors and guests to like later on before they committed to going. Yeah. I think a lot of the people that were going to be there, that they would probably ask to be there, they were like, oh, maybe we'll see how things go, and they probably backed out.
Because we even talked about this with just going with us ourselves, just wanting to go and do things. Be like, yes, I would like to do that, but I don't know if we will be able to when that time rolls around.
We weren't sure if everything was going to be shut down again by the time this came around, which kind of sucks when you're trying to plan hotels and stuff in advance. So, as always, we're just going to be playing things by year, I guess, with other conventions and stuff, which there's none on the horizon because Wizard World sold. So now we have no more press connections.
Well, I'm saying, maybe.
Well, the guy who my connection to Wizard World, they always got us in and stuff, I'm assuming, not going to work for Fan Expo or whatever bought them out. Also, none of those shows are going to be around. The closest one's Philly, I think, and Chicago. So we're going to adjust some things, and we might have to find some like different shows, like some in West Virginia and like awesome cons and things like that around here, which I'm okay with, I guess. Or we just travel farther.
Yeah, and I feel like if we to any of those bigger shows, even some of the smaller ones that have press, I'm pretty sure if we the submitting thing and we submit the stuff that we've done at previous shows.
Yeah, that would get
I would like to think, other than big shows, I don't think we're gonna get a press pass for San Diego or New York Comic-Con or anything like that.
You never know if you don't try.
Exactly, it wouldn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, but
well, that one anime con is one of the big. I forget the name of it, Techco something or other in Pittsburgh. That real big one. I applied the 1 year.
And you got accepted, right? But
I got accepted, but I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't go. I didn't. Because I think my brother was going to go with me, but then he ended up bailing because you were already working.
Yeah, because it was very kind of last minute. It wasn't something we planned ahead of time.
I found out about it not too far ahead of time, and by the time they got back to me about the press stuff, it was already your schedule was set, and it was just a shit show with that. But that would have been fun to go to, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully if things ever get unfucked.
Yeah, unfucked. But anyway, folks, if you're up in the Ann Arbor way, hit up Literati Bookstore. That was a cool bookstore.
Yeah.
It was 3 floors, bunch of fun stuff.
And I'm sure if you're more closer to the area, I'm sure any other bookstore they'll be able to order or find or get.
Well, did you notice they had a whole shelf behind the register of ordered books? They had people's names on them.
Okay.
I think they're special editions and whatnot. I just like the bookstore because they had
they had a good
selection.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, of Murakami.
Yeah.
They had a big section of him,
But they had staff recommendations on a lot of the books and had big synopsises hand written out, or just what was cool about the book and things like that. So worth checking out. Welcome to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today is Spencer, the Polish Peacock Church. Peacocks make a weird noise. I got attacked by one at the Indian Festival in West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the sound it made, though. It was something weird.
Was it really peacocking when it was doing it? Was it doing it strutting and had the...
Oh, yeah.
Is that a tail, I'm guessing?
Tail feathers. Shaking them. Tail feathers. That's peacock. I don't know, man. You wanted to talk about a controversial topic that's going to get us banned from the internet, so go ahead. You can start it off. You were you texted me something about red flag movies specifically, but I imagine we could talk about books too.
Well, I just
I saw the tweet trend going around. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I saw something on Facebook because I saw it was from a comic book news or something like that, and it was about people arguing if Fight Club was a red flag movie. And I was like, well, what's that mean? So I got on the old Google and, typed in red flag movie. And it was not what I thought it was going to be. What I thought it was going to be would be movies or things that maybe glorify violence or Tyler Durden and, the actual guy, there was some mental illness and very against the, Raised Against the Machine kind of thing. So I thought maybe it was something along those lines where you could be that's kind of dumb, but I could maybe get where you're coming from. It's not that.
I will elaborate more in a second, but essentially it's almost anti-conservative thoughts because that's who they think follows these kind of things. Because the tweet I saw that kicked off everything, which probably led to that, it was probably a Bleeding Cool Comics article or something you saw, but it was somebody said something about, well, we all know red flag movies like Fight Club, and I think he even might have said The Matrix. So he said that, and then he was like, but what about green flag movies? And everyone started commenting, and a lot of people were really mad because Fight Club's a red flag movie, and what it essentially is if somebody says they like Fight Club, you're free to judge them as a bad person. And I want to get to the books in a second because somebody ended up bringing up books too. But I think Fight Club, because of, the hyper-masculine, like you said, Rage Against the Machine or against the establishment, which Fight Club is not even about that. Fight Club is about the ridiculousness of that kind of nature. Yeah. But what people like, the people who are huge Fight Club fans, which we're banned from the internet now because we're not allowed to say Fight Club. I'll have to edit it out every time.
We can't talk about Fight Club.
Well, what we'll do is
now you really can't talk about Fight Club.
I'll just beep it from the edit. But
do it real late, so it's like fight beep, just so they know.
But the people who really subscribe to the whole Fight Club philosophy tend to be like either, let's just be honest, white male, maybe right-leaning people, and according to woke Twitter and stuff, that makes you bad. But then also, I think, like I said, The Matrix, because it's about, like, they took the whole, the red pill or whatever bullshit, and essentially means, don't follow the woke culture, believe, what do they always think? Like, think for yourself, don't be a sheeple, that kind of stuff. And then, like, if you go into books, it'd be like Ayn Rand, like Atlas Shrugged, Mein Kampf, which is Hitler's book, which, like, my whole philosophy on the thing is, like, I mean, I guess it's different if you like it. I'm not going to go to the movies just now, but, like, Mein Kampf, I don't think anybody's really liking that.
Yeah.
So, if somebody likes that, maybe you would judge them and be like, okay, that person's like, you love Hitler's book. But just as somebody who reads it, like, don't judge them for reading it.
See, whenever I looked it up, the definition was something along the lines of, like movies that have, like, bad characters, or, like, that, like, promote, like, characters that do, like, bad, dubious, and, like, not good things. Which I just, like, because that's what got me, because I was like, well, if you don't have those guys...
Yeah, then why do you have the movie?
You don't have any story ever. Like, you don't have, like, there's always, like, a bad guy,
Yeah.
There's always somebody doing something terrible. And if you get rid of that, you get rid of most stories.
Most stories. And, like, it goes... See, maybe that was the original intention, too, was them saying something along those lines. But I think the problem is they view people who tend to like or sympathize with those bad quote-unquote characters. Because Tyler Durden is technically a very bad character because you know what he does and stuff.
Well, even, what's the actual, not the made-up guy, but the...
Edward Norton's character.
Yeah, because he, if anything, he's just as bad because he is Tyler Durden. Like,
Yeah.
Because, like I said, like, I wouldn't agree with it if it's just, like I said, against, like, certain kind of movies because it's, like, like, kind of like how people were, like, against the Joker because, like, it's like, hey...
That was the other big one they brought up.
You're kind of promoting these things. Like, yeah, I think that's kind of stupid, but I could see the argument you could make. But whenever it's just, like, when you touch it to, like, fictional characters, like, it's just, it loses all legitimacy to me. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't understand.
Well...
Some of those are the greatest characters that have ever been created.
What I find, because do you think anybody's out there being like, oh, I want to be just like Scarface, but people like Scarface because he's a cool, bad character. But that doesn't mean, is Scarface considered a red flag movie? Probably, I guess. I don't know.
Think so.
Or his own. That's the thing that offends me, is that if you like Fight Club, if you like, The Matrix, or... that makes you a bad person. I don't understand that.
Especially considering, like, it's so funny and weird. It's like, with, like, the main things they're picking is, like, Fight Club and Matrix. And it's, like, things that have been out for, like, 20 years.
Yeah.
They were made in a completely different time, And so it's weird to kind of, like, nitpick, like, certain things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It doesn't, it's like...
Well, even if somebody liked Atlas Shrugged, I wouldn't automatically assume that they just believe Ayn Rand's whole political and whatever philosophy. Like, that's not necessarily true. Same with Fight Club. I like the movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm rooting for Tyler Durden or, Edward Norton's character. I mean,
maybe just a little bit.
The way that kind of movie is. Well, that's a bad example for me because I just saw it as like, gang of guys fighting each other, underground, mischief, anarchy. I didn't think of that as like, I am rooting for evil.
Well, and that one's one of those movies. It's like that movie is different at each different like point in time of your life that you watch that. Like as we're watching as when we're like kids and young teenagers, and we're just like, oh, that's cool, that's badass. As we start to get older, it's like I kind of wish somebody would get rid of all the debt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, or I could get, like, you kind of get of, like, yes, let's put a whole bunch of bird feed around a car dealership just so the bird shit all over the brand new cars. Like, you kind of, you know.
I think a lot of people can't differentiate between like the good and bads of a movie, like the political or just the themes of it, like the nature of it. So, like, say South Park, I'm sure people consider that a red flag show.
Yeah.
But they lampoon liberals just as much as they lampoon conservatives. Like
everybody's free game.
So how is that a red flag show? Because if you like South Park, you can't say, "Oh, he only likes South Park because he's far right wing and is against abortion or whatever it is."
That's one of the things why I like South Park so much, because they will literally make fun of everything, including itself.
Like even with Fight Club, I should have looked this up because I didn't really care enough to look it up because it's just kind of like an irritating topic to me.
No, I'm sure by the time this episode will come out, it'll be all blown over. Nobody will give a shit anymore.
I don't think anybody cares about it now.
But I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about, because I would also well, how would that affect like you trying to do stories? Like if you're worried about like, hey, I want to have this real dubious shithole of a hill, but it's like, can I have that character without people freaking out about it and being in your book?
Well, this brings up the three things that really bug me about this topic. One, which I already mentioned, is the judging people. If somebody likes this kind of fiction, you judge them as a bad person because they like a certain movie or TV show, or even if they like for instance, neither of us are conservatives.
No.
Like, I mean, we're not super liberals by any means. We don't really like the whole woke culture stuff. But I say we're center left.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fair to say. Like, on all social issues, I'm full left, I don't have a problem with anybody. But I have conservative friends who are definitely either center right or even farther right. But, like, I'm not just going to be like, oh, I don't like you just because of your beliefs. Like, I don't think that's something you should do. Like, the second thing is I feel like this is kind of a way to censor people because, oh, you like Fight Club, well, that means you're a bad person. And then somebody's thinking like, oh, well, I don't want to be a bad person. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to have an opinion on this movie or something. And then this third thing, which I think is the worst.
It also censors the creators because it's
that's what I'm saying.
People from further down the line checking out your work.
My third point is, that's a good point too, is that the people checking out your work might not check it out because
they don't you don't want to be on the train station and see somebody looking at you reading Fight Club and they just move farther down down the card.
But my third point is the self-censorship, which goes with the creators as well as even just the people, like you said, on the subway trying to read Fight Club. Well, maybe we're gonna put a fake cover on it, just a Playboy. That's all I'm reading. Well, that's probably a red flag magazine. I think it's a magazine anymore, really. People don't buy that. So, if you're a creator, that's gonna really stunt creativity. As we've had this conversation before, it's like, oh, I'm writing a story set in the South of 1800s. Well, I mean, I can't say like the N-word though.
Yeah.
Like, not that you want to say the N-word, but if you have a character
that says it,
who's very obviously like a super racist, if you don't say that, which you don't have to, but I feel like that would definitely water down the history aspect of your story because that's real. Like, you can't really just get rid of the history if you're writing about it.
Well, and that's to go back to a little bit of our topic from last week, Stephen King, because Stephen King doesn't hold any punches. If there's a character that says if that's in his character to say some vile racist shit or do something fucked up, he's gonna do it, and you're gonna fucking hate that character.
Which you're supposed to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people now, especially the younger generation, they can't separate the author from the fiction. Like if they see,
they think of, oh, if he uses that word, well, obviously he uses that word in real life. And it's like, no, that's not how that goes.
I'm really surprised Stephen King hasn't had backlash from especially his older works where he said that word more. Like stuff from the 70s and stuff where it's more common to just fucking be racist or say racist shit. I think all his early books that I have read have had the N-word in it at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised people haven't gone back and just, oh, fuck, he's definitely racist because he said the word, because he said the fabled word that you can't say. And that goes with any kind of slurs, really. Like nowadays, too. It's almost like the self-censoring, do you even have the racist character at this point? And then if you don't have the racist character, what if that racist character wasn't racist just to spice up the character? Because I think that's like old wrestling style cheap heat, is if you just have a character who's just racist just to make them just, unlikable. But if you have a story set in a time and place, or where racism is the big part of the story, you can't have that without the racist character.
Yeah, it's gonna feel fake. Your readers won't connect with the story as much. It just will seem like
you'll essentially not write the story, and then what are you doing? You're censoring your story, like you're censoring your ideas. You're just not doing something because you're afraid of the backlash, which is kind of why we have so many unoriginal works now. Because I see, like on Twitter, for instance, I'll see a lot of indie authors promote their books, and I'm like, did I just read that synopsis? No, that was somebody else's book, and I'll scroll down to that tweet, and it's almost the same general kind of plot, because they don't want to offend anybody, so they're writing the same kind of characters, the same tropes, and it's boring.
Yeah.
Like, just be blunt, it's boring. I don't like that kind of stuff. I would rather read a book that I'm offended by than read a book I'm bored by.
Yeah, because even the book that you are offended by could still be entertaining. You could still get something from it. But if it's a book that you're bored at, you're probably not even gonna finish it.
Yeah, you're not gonna care. Which is, I think, there's bad books and then there's boring books. I think boring books are always worse than bad books, because you can't take anything away from a boring book because you don't even finish it. You don't care to finish it. The worst thing you do as a writer is write something that's boring, that they don't like it, dislike it, they just chuck it aside. It's not interesting.
That's what I'm in the midst of reading Coin Locker Babies. And there's a lot of things in that book.
Yep. The opening sentence.
Yeah.
You can't, it's almost like if that was an modern American writing that book,
never
open
happened.
it the same way and stuff. I don't know if that could be done, especially if it was like, just a heterosexual white male in his 20s or 30s that decided to write that book.
Yeah, they don't have any they don't have anything quite yet. Like,
now, I'm not saying that book won't sell and there won't be an audience for that book. What I'm saying is, good luck getting a publisher to publish that book in the modern times. I feel like they would want to change it. If you indie published it and you can grow a following, because I like to think more readers than not, and more moviegoers than not, don't care about the woke stuff and the censoring. No. They just want something entertaining. They want something good. Something original. That's what they really care about. You do have a subset of people who want to censor work and do all this, and they shit on everything that's not up to whatever their moral standards are. But here's the thing about those people. There's actually not that many of them. They're just the most vocal.
Yeah.
Because most of us just go to work and, go through our daily lives.
And then, at what point do you go back and it's like, all right, well, red flagging movies and stuff from 20 years ago. Like, what about some of the most literary classics and stuff like that are completely messed up?
So, Heart of Darkness, scratch the whole thing. It's set in Africa, written by a white guy. Very racist book. I didn't like that book, but pretty racist, as people were back then. In the actual characters, colonizing Africa, essentially, that's very super racist. That's the most racist thing you could really do. So I see that book would just be gone. Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer, can't have that.
When they've been trying to mess with that for years now.
Which is fucking stupid. How did people speak in the 1800s? Why is it it'd be one thing if you had a modern author writing a Huckleberry Finn style book that's set in modern America, and he decided to have N-word Jim.
Yeah.
Fuck you, guy. Why would you do that? 1800s, is not cool, but at the same time, that's just in the book. That's how times were. But modern times, there's really no excuse for that.
Though, but how do you feel when that, that, say if, in English class, you had that Huckleberry Finn, and, you will have classes would read, sections aloud and stuff like that. And then you come across that, though. You can't be having your kids say it.
It's very tricky because you'd always have the cool teacher who kind of, at least when we were growing up, nowadays they probably wouldn't even have, you read it or anything. Because you'd always have the teacher be like, you could say the swear word if you're comfortable with it. And usually it was damn or something. But when it came to Huckleberry Finn or something, I wouldn't want to do it because, let's call on the white kid who 90% of his class are black kids I'm not saying that.
No.
I'm not saying, oh, you really give me the page where it says his name 10 times? Yeah, sure. I'll go get stabbed in the bathroom after this. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Teach.
Thanks, Teach. No, I don't think kids should be reading that out loud, but I don't think it should be censored from the work. I think there needs to be a dialogue in the classroom. Be like, hey, see, that's where the problem is, because not all parents want their kids to have that dialogue. So maybe the teacher would have to reach out to the parents and be like, hey, this is what we're going to be. We're going to be covering Huckleberry Finn. There's, obviously the words that are in that book are very offensive nowadays. Here's how we're going to go about it. You can choose to have your child not participate, or they can be involved. And here would be the course synopsis. Like, this is the curriculum this is how we're going to cover this particular thing. We're going to talk about the history of the bad words and, maybe.
Did you ever have any teachers that did anything like that? I don't know. I never had any teachers that would.
I had some, I think it was like social studies teachers who, like, we read a novel. It was about, I can't remember the name of it. I really liked it, actually. It was about how pretty much Asians were forced to build the railroads in the U.S. And a lot of racism in that book, obviously. And it was kind of like that. They explained it. And I took a lot away from that. That's why I think that stuff should be taught. Yeah. It just needs to be taught in a very specific, delicate way.
Which, unfortunately, a lot of school systems in this country can't handle that right now.
No, but I mean, to be fair, most teachers don't have the money or the inclination to even do that kind of stuff. Like, they're barely teaching regular courses, let alone any kind of things like that. Because everything gets put on the internet, too. Like, do you want to be the teacher that gets caught out of context saying the N-word?
Right.
When they're, like, from Huckleberry Finn or something? Like, you don't want that. Honestly, I don't like the school system in general. We both have many gripes about that. But, I think school should be tailor-made to individual kids' needs, which is very hard to do in a public setting. But, if you got kids that are more interested in building stuff, maybe focus them towards that. Like, at least after, like, middle school, after all the, spelling, grammar, fucking math, everything's kind of covered. Like, when you get into high school, it should be more career-oriented, I think. But, like, for us, like, I think we would really benefit if they were like, hey, you could just take your normal English 11 or whatever class, or you can join like the writing group class, like have a special group where that takes place of the class.
I don't even ever think there was a writing class whenever I think there might have been one like but it was like an advanced English thing. Well,
Which just the name advanced English makes you not want to take it.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been more helpful if they had, like, for instance, the kids that are interested in reading, like, have a literature group that can take place of that English class. Once the kids, like I said, I'd say after 8th grade, you really don't need all the advanced stuff unless you're specifically going into a career for that. So maybe tailor it to, like, oh, this kid really likes to read and stuff. Maybe have, like, a literature discussion group as in place of the class. And then that's where you would talk about these kind of sensitive. And you could
still take, like, those 5 or 6, like, super smart kids that are, like, in every school, and then be like, just put them in their own little section and let them learn everything, because that's just what they do.
Right. But I think that'd be the best way to handle, like, sensitive materials. Like, your parents would have to sign off, and you'd be in this special class, and maybe, today's technology, they could even have the classes videotaped so the parents can watch at some point if they want to make sure everything's on the up and up. Because, there are, and I hate to say it, like, if you look at it, especially when kids go to college, there's a lot of really far left professors who will actually kick kids out of the class if they don't believe or pretend to believe a lot of the things the professor is spouting. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Whether it was somebody on the left or a super conservative, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be doing that. I don't like biased teaching at all. I don't like there to be... there's always the stereotype of, like, the feminist teacher who kicks the one guy out of the feminist whatever class just because he's the guy. Like, I'm sure that does happen to a degree. Maybe not like they portray it in movies, but I'm sure that does happen.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I never went to college, just because I was like, well, for the majority, all of my high school teachers are the shits.
The shits.
And, like, those are the closest ones that I have, like... a stake, I guess you could say. And so if you go to, because I always have, you go to college and you get the professor that's like tenured, and
they really don't care.
They're not caring. They don't, they'll be like, oh, read pages, do whatever, and then they're just sitting at their desk right at the clock while you're doing work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and because like for me that wouldn't work. I needed a very kind of hands-on and like extra time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't just like read these couple pages and then take this test kind of student. Like that,
right.
Like that didn't work out for me.
Well, one thing I will say, like growing up, because I'm not one of those people like, oh, video games, causes violence or violent movies causes violence. But I will say the media did kind of warp my perception of reality when I was growing up, because in the 90s, like because my older sister, she's like 10 years older than me. So say I'm, between the ages of 8 and 15, she's at the age where she's watching a lot of like, well, I guess romance comedies, but like the teenage, like remember the 90s, there was like a lot of, oh, gotta have this big party and stuff. And, like all those kind of
not
movies.
Not another teen movie?
No, more like teen dramas.
But I mean, like what, like not another teen movie, like made fun, like what those like
the 16 Candles from the 80s, but the 90s versions of those. Can't Hardly Candles. Wait, I think was one of them. Things like that. But a lot of those movies, what warped my perception, they always had like the fucking cool teacher that would connect with like certain students, and you have that even now. I remember. Mindy really liked that Perks of Being a Wallflower movie, and that's the same thing. Like one of the, I think it might be Bateman actually, if I remember correctly. Jason Bateman is like the cool teacher who really connects with the kid and gives them like fucking special writing books and reading whatever. Like he's actually harbors a love for literature and stuff in the kid. I always saw that growing up, but then had to go to real school, and then that wasn't a thing. And I was like, is there something wrong with me? Why am I not getting this kind of connection? And then it almost makes you like socially awkward. And then it got to the point where like I really wouldn't want to talk to my teachers. Yeah. Like I just would go to the class and do the work, but I didn't feel any kind of connection to them. Because
also at that time, you're so young, you don't realize the stuff that the teacher's going through.
Yeah.
Like, the cutbacks and buying supplies out of their own pockets.
Or just the fact how many students they have to deal with.
So you don't know to even factor that stuff into your small mind at that point. So like you can't even begin to fathom what they're going through and then stuff like that. The only kind of teacher that I had that was close to like that was the art teacher in high school, and then he had certain kids that looked like they had, that had some talent that would put in the work, and like he would put in time with those guys, and like other kids he would, if they needed help he would try, but like, well, he was also very big, like if he's like, look, I know everybody's not going to be able to draw, but as long as you put forth the effort, you're going to get at least a decent grade. You know? He's like, I don't expect like Picasso out of everybody,
Right.
But, but there were those select, he would have like a handful of kids out of all the classes that would, would come in on other periods or have extra classes and like would,
I had one teacher, I think it was 7th or 8th grade, who actually cared about my work and what I was doing, and would actually tried to harbor, different, like he tried to create some kind of interest in me in things other than just like the fucking curriculum. Like you'd be like, hey, if you do kind of like, that we're covering this Steinbeck story, maybe check out some of this. And he was there, and then he got a promotion to another school through the half of the semester. So it was like I was only in there for a couple months with him. I was like, well, that's fucking great.
Well, and then I don't know if you ever had this, but like I had an English teacher, and she was really good, and she helped like teach and learn a lot of stuff. But it was like, because I had her through all 4 years, I had the same English teacher. I just ended up that way. So in like 9th grade, she would get on me, and some of my other classmates be like, oh, you don't like know this or that, and be like, no, they never taught us that. And then it's like, down the line, they try to take credit, be like, oh, look how much better your grades are, and be like, that's kind of on you, but that's also a lot on me. Yeah. I just needed somebody to actually, like, show me the material or the things to do, like, you know what I mean, other than just being like, hey, just sit at your desk and, just be quiet.
Do packets.
Yeah, so many packets.
Going back to the original topic, because we went pretty far off topic, do you think red flag books and movies is actually a real thing?
I hope not.
Outside of the internet, I don't think it is. I don't like like Joker. We both like the Joker. I just like the depiction of mental illness and stuff, and I thought it was very well acted, very well made. I didn't know that was a red flag movie. I didn't know that created toxic masculinity or some kind of other toxic behavior. Like, why would you judge people for liking a movie or a book or something just because certain people who like that are fucked up?
Yeah.
Like, that's not right. Because if you go that route, like, you know, Catcher in the Rye, I wasn't a big fan of it, but I'm not going to go shoot Reagan. Yeah. But just because a guy fucking went and, like, you know, shot John Lennon and Reagan because they like Catcher in the Rye, like, that doesn't mean everybody who likes Catcher in the Rye is going to fucking shoot somebody. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because then it gets, what would be real crazy, I'm sure, and it's around the corner if it picks up any speed, is, like, red flag music. Like, that's a lot. Like, that was a
big thing in the early 2000s. Eminem, Marilyn Manson.
And it's like, I just know, well, a lot of people that I know that listen to that kind of stuff or listen to the same kind of stuff that I did, people would think that, or like, you know, especially in my youth, I was a big ICP kid. I listened to them, like, that's the only things I would have in my earlobes. And people would be like, oh, that's going to cause you to be bad. That's going to be, but no, well, first of all, because the stuff that they're singing and rapping about, it actually makes you feel better. Because, yes, they might be singing about, you know, chopping somebody's head off with a big axe. Mm-hmm. But hearing that, it's like a stress reliever. It's like, so you don't have to, chop somebody's head off with an axe. You're hearing it, so it's kind of taking that away.
Well, when I was in my teenage years, I played like a lot of Grand Theft Auto and stuff, just murdering a bunch of, you know, sprites. And that just kind of was like a nice release. Like, it just made you feel better. Like, I never thought, oh, I want to do this for real.
And people who, it doesn't matter the medium, the general of whenever somebody judges something like that, they don't take the time to actually listen, watch, or read the thing.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like what I said with my, like with the ICP stuff. If you would go and actually listen to a lot of the songs, they have a decent, positive, like, family kind of message and thing to them. Yeah. But people only hear certain things, or only want to hear certain things, or see certain things, or read certain things.
And to think, like, horrorcore rap is at all real. Like, that anything they're rapping about be something they're doing. Like, that's ridiculous.
Comedians, there's a whole shit ton of comedians. It sucks to be a comic now.
Oh, yeah, you get canceled for everything, or just being a comedian.
Can Jeff Foxworthy get canceled for racially stereotyping rednecks? Or, like, you know, generalizing rednecks?
Well, at the risk of alienating myself from the left, I will say that it is 100% true that people don't give a shit when you shit on white people.
Oh, yeah.
When you make fun of white people, especially white guys, it's like we're not supposed to have feelings, and that's okay. Because I see that online all the time, and one thing that always irritates me is when you see you can't be racist against white people because white people have the power. Even if that is true to a degree, that doesn't mean you have to be shitty and say racist things to white people. Because if you say Asians are good at math and that's that's still bad, why is it okay to say white people can't dance because they have no rhythm? While that might not be really that offensive, that's still kind of fucked up because you're judging somebody just because they're a white person. I think you shouldn't be judging anybody. And I'm not one of those fucking all lives matters assholes. Like, don't worry about that. It's just, I don't think that you really should be judging anybody. I don't understand why we have to do that. Why do we have to just make fun of... Yeah, why do we have to fucking make fun of people just for their race? I think that's stupid. That's the biggest thing with the left that always bothered me. Was that, what we're going to do is get rid of racism by promoting racism towards white people because they're the ones who benefited from racism for fucking thousands of years, which I agree. Like, it's been fucked up. Like, white people have fucked a lot of people up and fucked them over and have ruined Countless lives.
But they haven't been the only ones.
No, but at the same time, you're not going to just make, old fucking Cletus from Alabama stop being racist by making fun of him saying he's an inbred white trash hick. Like, that's not how fire with fire doesn't work in that situation. So
It'd just be nice. It'd also be nice if we were in a place to where you could say something. You could make the joke about Cletus being the inbred hick guy, and nobody get mad. Just be like, ah ha ha, but no serious heat. Like, you know what I mean?
That was kind of like the 90s.
It was.
Because you can make fun of anybody.
And as long as you wasn't like a super dick jerk about it,
yeah.
or like overly offensive, it was fine.
I think in the next 10 years, you're going to see a big comeback of that kind of humor. Because people are just kind of sick of the woke stuff. And I think in 10 years...
They say it's like a pendulum, like,
Well, the thing is, mainly the generation that's really focused on that stuff, they're going to outgrow it. They're going to finally have to be in the real world where they're like, you know what? I don't care about, whatever race somebody is at work. If they're fucking lazy, they're going to be fucking lazy. And if they're fucking working hard, they're working hard. Yeah. That's all I care about. Like, when you actually have to deal with people for real in the real world environment, not some small fucking hick town and wherever, because those are like, self-contained bubbles. But like, especially when you live in any kinds of cities or something, once you're in the real world, it's just like you realize, oh, we're all kind of getting fucked by somebody. Maybe just be a little nicer to each other. Or at the very least, just ignore each other if you can't be nice to somebody.
Yeah. And all that affects the way that you write.
I guess.
I was trying to bring it back.
I don't believe you should censor your work for anybody.
No.
You can keep your audience in mind and do realize that in this climate, some things you write might get you canceled. It could get you canceled before you even start. But good work will always rise to the top.
But I guess you should also mention that in your writing, you should also not try to just be offensive or say be like a
just
shock
to do
jock.
it, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Like James Gunn in the 2010s, he got in big trouble for being shock humor on Twitter.
So just make sure if you're using it correctly and properly, and will help you along your way of being able to do that stuff and just not have it be just to try to get like headlines or
And also, though, you don't have to write those kind of stories.
No.
To be honest, because, like, I can't think of a single instance where I really wrote a story where anything remotely offensive to, like, race or sexual orientation was in play. Not to say those aren't topics I wouldn't touch on. It's just that's really never come up in the stuff I write. I know you've had a couple stories that were on the borderline, but I don't think you've ever crossed the line either into, like, something that somebody might get offended by. But then again, we don't really let our like personal and political beliefs like bleed over into our work. We just want to tell a good story.
Yeah.
Versus you're fucking J.K. Rowling's of the world who, we're not gonna get into that. But I to end this episode, I don't think red flag should apply to really too many things. If you like Mein Kampf, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Like if somebody like really likes Mein Kampf, like apparently Donald Trump does, I will say fuck Donald Trump and Mein Kampf.
Well, like how does like Fight Club is like red flag, but like not American History X?
Because American History X was showing the evil of Nazis.
But I mean, there's still like
it's not necessarily the subject matter; it's the theme and moral. The moral of Fight Club is you can rail against the machine and be an anarchist and hypermasculine, and that's a good thing. American History X, it was Nazis bad, don't be like fucking Devin, or what was his name? I forget, but it's don't be like Edward Norton in that movie. He was, even though he became reformed, he had to die because, or no, he didn't die.
His brother died.
Edward Furlong died because the karma monster will come back and get you for your evil deeds. That was the moral of that movie. The moral of Scarface, if you're a bad guy, you're going to get shot in a big pile of cocaine. Like, he actually didn't get shot in the big pile of cocaine. That's just what I would like to imagine. Like, he snorted a big pile of cocaine, and then he got shot. Any other red flag things that you could... What would be like a solid red flag movie? That's what we'll end on. Like, one that you'd be like, okay, I get that. Like, if somebody really likes that movie, they're kind of a piece of shit. Like,
Transformers.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Fuck Transformers. Maybe what's that fucking Nazi pro Ku Klux Klan movie from way back, something American Pride or American, I forget the name of that shitty movie, but if you like that, I guess if you like things that are like all about white supremacy, then okay, I can see that. But as far as like even any modern movies or anything I can think of, I don't see one instance where just because you like that movie, that just makes you a bad person. Like I said, if you actually really like Mein Kampf, you're probably a bad person because that means you align yourself with that ideology. And Hitler, not cool, man.
Nah.
Not cool. And you know what? If you I'm going to go on record. Can I go on record?
Yeah, go on record.
Or should this be off record? No, I'll go on record. If you like House of Leaves by Daniel Lusky, that's a red flag book because your taste.
Well, I think it would just be, just from what I've heard of the book, it'd be more of a psychological issue. Like, what's going on inside that guy's head?
If you really like Sleeping Beauties by Stephen and Owen King.
No.
If you like Jerusalem by Alan Moore, you're just a mentally ill man.
I think that's if you finished.
If you finished.
Not even if you like it, but if you just finished Jerusalem.
Something's wrong with you, buddy. Yeah, I can't really think of too many things I've read.
No, because I don't ever really think of things in that manner. Like, because even if there is like something in a movie that I don't like or I would consider what you consider get offended at, I probably don't see it again. Like, I don't watch it again, you know, so it leaves my mind.
I think what would be considered a big red flag movie, and I don't agree, is that Michael Douglas movie. Is it called Falling Down?
Yeah.
Where it's essentially, you know, a kind of well-to-do white guy goes on a rampage. It's like any fucking, especially at the time, but even now, the straight white man, Fight Club style, rebelling against the machine, rebelling against society, like that kind of thought. But at the end of that movie, though, he's like, wait, I'm the bad guy? Yeah. Because he truly believed that he wasn't the bad guy, even though he's doing all this bad shit, because morally he feels like he's right.
But see, and I don't know what it says about me, but like, maybe not with like the Falling Down, but like with Fight Club about like the railing, like that almost kind of gives you like a weird kind of hope, like you can do something, or there is, you can
stand up.
Yeah, like you don't have to just be pushed down by the system, you know.
Mm-hmm. What kind of pills you've been taking? What color, Spencer? Blue or red? Blue or red?
Both.
Ooh.
Just take them
excellent choice.
At the same time.
I think I saw like a meme or it was like a video or something where he's like, you have the blue pill, and he just takes them both immediately and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. And he's like, and his eyes are fucking crooked.
What they don't, in the director's cut of the movie, what they don't tell you is that those pills are suppositories. Yeah. They don't show that in the movie.
No. I'm going to end the episode on this.
Again.
The final end, because we're like, this is way too long for rambling. We've just been rambling the whole time. 1, be nice to each other. 2, instead of judging somebody for a movie they like, why not find out why they like the movie first? You know, if somebody likes Ayn Rand's shitty Atlas Shrugged, ask them why they liked it first. Is it the shitty philosophy, or is it...
Especially if it's something that you yourself hasn't consumed.
Yeah.
Because
well, that's the thing. I had never read Atlas Shrugged. I have no interest in reading Atlas Shrugged. But I always see in like the classic literature group we're in, people will like bash people that say they like it. It's like, have you read it? Because I haven't read it, so I can't. I'm not gonna say anything because I haven't read it, even though I know, you know, roundabout what it's about. Maybe talk to them first. Why did they like it? Why does anybody like anything? If somebody says they like Fight Club, but they can tell you the reasons why they like Fight Club, and you realize it has nothing to do with some outlandish ideology, maybe give them the benefit of the doubt that they just like the movie. Like, I like Joker. I wasn't looking into it so deeply that I was thinking, like, you know, rebel against fucking what. I don't even know why that's a red flag movie, honestly. Because white male rage, I guess. Like, everything's white male rage, and I understand that, but I'm not watching that movie thinking of white male rage.
No.
Like, I'm not thinking I want to go fucking on a murder spree and, you know, shoot Ted Danson. That's who I always picture instead of Robert De Niro.
Is Ted Danson? So you haven't thought about it.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I'm not just talking about in Joker. Like, Murray just wasn't Ted Danson to me just because I don't like Ted Danson, and he has a real big head, so it'd be good for shooting in the movie.
Easy target.
Every De Niro movie's Ted Danson in my head.
Oh, yeah. So, like, Meet the Fuckers or, like...
Godfather, Goodfellas, Meet the Fuckers. Raging Bull. All Ted Danson.
So does that mean, like, you think Ted Danson
was in Cheers, yes. No, I mean, De Niro's in Cheers, yeah. Yeah, that's how that goes. Anyway, folks, thank you for listening. If you can make any kind of sense out of all our rambling, please reach out to us at drunkenpenwriting.com. We have a contact page. You can even better message us on Twitter at Drunk Pen Writing, Instagram and Facebook, Drunken Pen Writing. We'd like to hear your thoughts on the whole red flag, green flag, all the flags debate. I think you should just let people like their things, and unless they're not, as long as they're not hurting anybody or spreading, any kind of hate speech or anything, I don't really see why you have to shut them down. But if you feel otherwise, I would like to know, because the debates I saw on Twitter were mostly like, oh, this is fucking stupid. Just because you like Fight Club, you're a bad person. Like, a lot of people were angry. And then the people who were on the opposite end were just attacking those people, because most of them were like white guys. So they were just like kind of attacking them, like, oh, see, but they didn't actually seem to have an opinion on Fight Club, which I thought was interesting. It's like, well, do you care about Fight Club? And that's kind of an old movie, so does it really matter at this point?
Yeah, like how many of those people that are freaking out about it actually watched it?
They're never gonna fucking end this episode. What I forgot, like the big red flag movies, Tropic Thunder.
Oh.
Because if you like Tropic Thunder, you're like, ableist or definitely racist and sexist. You're everything, because that movie is a parody on all that stuff. It's a satire on the ridiculous nature of Hollywood, and a lot of the people who have put the red flag and stuck it atop that movie, they've never actually seen it, because a lot of them are fucking Zoomers who aren't maybe not even old enough to watch rated R movies yet. Take that as you will.